I received a question that says, repetition is vital for a foreign language. When taking notes, how much time do you spend doing this? Is it more beneficial for students to spend the time to write it down and be able to reference the material later on, or should I spend more class time being able to establish new material and therefore be able to teach more? How often do you teach kids on how to take notes? Do I give them handouts or for reference instead? I have my students keep a page at the beginning of their notebook called Frases Esenciales, and anytime we run into a word that's extremely important for them to know, they write that down in their essential phrases section of their notebook. But when it comes to daily vocabulary or chapter vocabulary, I give them a handout with the Spanish, and I go through a PowerPoint where I have a Spanish word and a picture that goes with each Spanish word, and the students and I discuss what the Spanish word might mean based off of the picture, and then they write the Spanish words down on their paper. We also sometimes will put an action to it or put a sound to it, and when we're done with that whole PowerPoint presentation, we'll do different activities to help us practice the vocabulary, such as looking at the pictures and trying to match the words with those pictures, or playing games, or doing that word bank activity like I referenced previously. The activity you're looking at in front of you is our Pared de Palabras, which is our word wall, and the different pictures that you see are from an activity called Mind Sketch. This is actually the end result. I posted the pictures and the words on my word wall, but it came from Mind Sketch. Mind Sketch is a way for students to practice the vocabulary in context and in a non-linguistic representation. I give each student 2 half sheets of blank paper. On one half sheet, they write the vocabulary word, and on the back of the vocabulary word, they write a sentence using that vocabulary word in context. So as you can see on the yellow poster, we have a vocabulary word in the upper left-hand corner that is coleccionar caracoles, which is to collect seashells. And if you look at the blue poster on the right side, the second picture down is a picture of a girl collecting seashells. The sentence that the student wrote is on the back of Coleccionar Caracoles, and the student wrote, Yo colecciono caracoles con mi abuela. I collect seashells with my grandma. After they have written their vocabulary word that they were assigned and a sentence on the back, and they've drawn the picture, they turn in both sheets of paper, and either the same day or the next day, I scramble up the cards and the pictures, and I reassign those cards and pictures to the students. So a student in the class could get the word coleccionar caracoles, but they might get the picture of the girl who's enjoying the ice cream. And obviously that doesn't match. Then as a class, we take turns reading the sentences on the back of our vocabulary word cards, and the students analyze their pictures to see if they might have the vocabulary word. If they have the vocabulary word, they say yo tengo, and we continue to go around the room until all of the vocabulary cards have been matched up with those pictures. This helps the students practice as a class with the vocabulary words so they get to see them. They also have to think about the context of the vocabulary word to see if they have the picture that corresponds to that vocabulary word or not. After we've done the mind sketch activity, I post the vocabulary words on our word wall so that the students can see them. As you can see, I've scrambled them up. I haven't matched them directly because I can take this activity in the future and have the students play a simple matching game or match the different vocabulary words to the pictures. I can also play fly swatter, where you take two fly swatters and you put the students in teams, and we can play with either the picture side or the word side. Topics that I was asked to talk about is note making, and that was one of the questions that I received about, do I just give them handouts? Do I give them reference sheets? What do we do with notebooks? I've started doing something called interactive student notebooks, where the students get a composition notebook, and then they glue, they decorate the pages for their different projects, or they glue information into their notebooks. And I have different graphic organizers that I will give the students to fill in. So for example, today we did an organizer on the differences between preterito and imperfecto, the preterite and perfect tense. And as you can see, we will take notes in the Venn diagram, and then we'll pull out specific words. So we did summarizing words for the preterite and summarizing words for the imperfect today, to pull out that information to kind of show them that they don't have to write everything down, that they can get the main points. And then I'll give them different graphic organizers that they can use to take some simplified notes in their notebook. In terms of vocabulary, obviously this is my copy, so it's not filled out, but the students will get a vocabulary sheet with some essential phrases, and this is the vocabulary sheet that we would use as we go through the PowerPoint. So it's already given to them in Spanish, and they would have to fill out the English side. I also encourage the students to make charts and graphs that are simplified, so that they don't write down every teeny tiny little detail about what I want them to learn. And it's also a non-linguistic representation. It helps the students who need that spatial recognition, or that spatial practice, that are very good with charts and graphs. We also do something called Cornell Notes, and I know this is a terrible video, but the Cornell Notes, you give them a bulleted list of the information that you want them to know. So this is our topic on nouns and adjectives, and then when you go through the presentation, they take notes off to the side that talk about the different presentation, the different points about the presentation. This is to encourage them to write the most important items without writing every single thing in their notebook. Another question I received said, in a foreign language with thought-provoking questions, do I focus primarily on KWL charts? Will the student even know what I am saying? How do I stimulate and motivate the student to engage and generate responses for these types of questions? You can use a KWL chart in any level of Spanish. Obviously, in a lower level of a foreign language, you would need to simplify the questions in language that they can understand, or you can use it in English to help them interpret a Spanish text. So you can ask higher level questions based on their comprehension of a very basic level of text. For example, a couple years ago I taught a story where it was about the 4 elements in the world: earth, air, fire, water, and it basically, the whole moral of the story was that without trust and faith, all of those elements wouldn't be able to exist. And the students, it was a very deep subject. It was a deep message with the text, but the vocabulary was very easy. So I used a KWL chart for vocabulary to see what they already knew from the vocab. We picked out difficult words that they wanted to know, and then I gave them some questions that talked about the story in Spanish using basic vocabulary question words like ¿Por qué usa la palabra espíritu? Why use the word spirit in this text? And then I had the students try to answer that based on their comprehension of the basic vocabulary. So it is possible to use a KWL chart. When you think of the question, will the student even know what I am saying? Sometimes you have to really simplify your speech and what words you use with the students, but you can still get those thought-provoking questions from them using the vocabulary that they know. The other question I want to make sure that I address says, next semester when I will be student teaching, I'm expected to do readers. For the students who are a little further behind, how can I engage them as readers and make sure they are still on target without more skilled students realizing this? And furthermore, with my readers, which have you found to be an effective method of instruction? Read alouds, shared reading, teacher-directed readings, assessments, all of the methods mentioned, which is best and why. I've used readers before. When I was student teaching, we read a book called El Secuestre, and it was for the honors second year students. We used all sorts of different strategies. We did read alouds, we did group reading, we did jigsaw reading, anything we could do to vary the type of reading the students were doing so that they wouldn't get bored with reading, but also so that they could tap into that help they could get from other students who were experiencing the same type of reading. In the last 3 years when I was teaching the first year of Spanish, we've used A to Z readers, which are readers for very low elementary school students, but the Spanish is right on level with what the students are learning. And we've done different activities where we would do think, pair, share with the readings, or we would do an activity where the student would they would draw what they thought was happening. So I would cover up the picture and I would say, yo fui a la playa con mi abuelo y coleccioné caracoles. I went to the beach with my grandpa and I collected seashells. And the students would draw a picture of a little kid on the beach collecting seashells, and then as a formative check for understanding, we would unveil the pictures at the end and see if the students matched their pictures or if there was some errors in comprehension. So there's all sorts of stuff you can do with readers that you can do with mixed ability groups, or you can do with the entire class to kind of help the students read. There are all sorts of literacy strategies that you can use in a world language class. Don't let the amount of Spanish that the students know deter you from using literacy strategies. They can really do a lot with them, especially the more vocabulary that they learn. If you have any questions that you want to ask me, or if you need any more help with some different literacy strategies that I use, because I do use a lot, but I didn't want to spend an hour on this video, you can email me. I've put my email address right below. It should say jamie.demson@ops.org, or actually it's probably jamie.demson@ops.org. And let me know. I work at Burke High School, so you can always find me there. Have a good day. Hasta luego.